Do you find yourself stumbling into the same situations over and over again, then berating yourself because you should have seen it coming a mile away? That's called a repeating pattern, and it's your karma, once more giving you the opportunity to resolve an issue. You might think of it as a big neon sign from the universe that you must make different choices if you wish to have different results. If you don't figure it out this time around, maybe you'll get it in your next incarnation. And that brings me to the topic of today's video. What sort of pre-birth planning do we go through in preparation for the next lifetime? It's guaranteed that pre-birth planning includes resolving repeating patterns, along with a laundry list of other issues. Be sure to stay tuned until the very end to hear Metatron's enlightening explanation. Hi, this is Debbra Lupien, voice of the Akashic Records, bringing you a channeled message from Archangel Metatron. Pre-birth planning involves extensive research. There are a great many elements to factor in, beginning with what you desire to accomplish. With the what decided, you've set the stage to begin mapping out the where and who. You create a list of souls you'd like to interact with during this lifetime. Then your team sets about researching their availability. Of course, not everyone on your list will be available during the time period you have specified. At that point, you may choose to change your timeline to coordinate with them or remove them from this list, leaving that connection for another lifetime. It all depends upon your priorities. Once you've pinpointed a timeline for your next life, then it's time to select your parents. Usually, you'll first look to potential mothers with whom you have unresolved karma who are available at the time you've chosen. As you might imagine, this process requires a great deal of flexibility. You provide your team with a list in order of preference. They'll bring you the options for consideration. The final selection is always yours. Should you not find a match from your list, then your guides scout out possibilities that are energetically aligned with your priorities. As you can imagine, there are a great many working parts involved in selecting the best option for your next reincarnation. Therefore, the sooner you provide your team with particulars, the sooner you'll be ready to leap into your next body. Generations may come and go in Earth time while your destination lifetime is being coordinated. You might think of your team as Uber travel agents, going above and beyond to craft the perfect adventure trip. Markers are laid out for potential connection points with souls you've agreed to synchronize with. Milestones are laid for optional exit points where you complete your life or extend until the next milestone. While your team is occupied with the aforementioned tasks, you are putting in the requisite time in soul school, analyzing the times during past lives where you went off course so that you'll be better prepared when those same challenges show up again, because they will. You'll also update your to-do lists, crossing off tasks that are complete and adding new ones. There are always carryovers which you will have noted during your analysis and perhaps moved up in priority. I asked, does pre-birth planning include how many children a soul intends to have, or is that determined more on the child side? Metatron responds, that is negotiated during pre-birth planning. You and your team may negotiate directly with the souls you've identified as potential children, or you may allow the best matches at the time. Of course, all of this is subject to change, for once you've arrived at the time for birthing, your priorities may have shifted, as may theirs. Are you getting the picture that a great deal of flexibility is involved? Best to sketch things out in broad outline form, allowing details to be added as options are updated. You incarnate with a broad outline and specific objectives. However, many things can occur to eliminate some of your choices. There are always events that are out of your control, which is why your list has multiple choices. I asked, does pre-birth planning include any details about the body we inhabit? Metatron responds, those details may have factored into your selections. However, physical characteristics are subject to the genetic map of your parents and ancestors. I asked, so that means that we don't look the same from one reincarnation to another? Metatron responds, You may bear a resemblance if you've chosen a genetic line with similarities, but that is a very low priority. Besides, you often delight in inhabiting very different forms. It presents you with broader experience. For instance, you may incarnate into different ethnic groups from one lifetime to the next. That particularly occurs when there is karma to be resolved involving wrongs that need righted. For instance, if you have lived as a slave trader, you may choose to return as a slave. That's a very simplified example, but it serves to illustrate the point. Once you arrive in your new body, it's a case of all bets are off. You and your team have set the stage. After that, it's a matter of quickly finding your land legs and going with the flow, as people, places, and events may turn in directions you could not have anticipated. Through it all, your energy is attracting that to which you are a match. Whatever challenges you've chosen to work through will find you and keep finding you until you shift. That's what repeating patterns are all about. If you find yourself stumbling into the same situations over and over again, that's a big neon sign alerting you that you must make different choices if you wish to break out of that repeating pattern. When you were less awakened, you likely didn't notice, so those patterns continued lifetime after lifetime. Now that you've arrived here in a more awakened state, you are more likely to notice and do something about it. Once you do notice, the wise choice is to take action as soon as possible, facilitating your shift into a new, more empowered state of being. I asked, when we're deciding how long we want a lifetime to last, are we able to look ahead at major world events to decide whether we want to be a part of them? Metatron responds, yes, in the broad sense, you can see major events with a brief indicator as to the nature, but not the finer details, as they can and will change depending upon a great many factors. I asked, anything else you'd like to add? Metatron responds, yes, you are understandably curious about such things. However, we would encourage you not to become too intertwined with future eventualities. Remember, your most empowered state is that of being present. In each day, strive to connect more deeply with your team. Keep tuning your channel until you find the frequency where you're able to access higher realms of information as necessary. Then you can do a quick check-in and get right back to living in the moment, making choices from this new higher perspective and experiencing the delicious peace and harmony, which results from being aligned with your soul purpose. Make that your priority, and your progress will accelerate. We think this is the perfect time for that. With that, Metatron winks and points to my new book, channeled from him and his team, suggesting that the acceleration you're seeking can be found in those pages. All that's needed is your commitment to complete the challenge, and you'll soon be accessing those higher frequencies with ease. Thank you, Metatron. You've certainly given us a lot to think about. And thank you, KELLI, for submitting the question. What questions arise for you on this topic? Please share in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer either here or in another video. Thank you for watching and hitting the thumbs up to help Metatron's message reach a larger audience. Till next time, this is Debbra Lupien, voice of the Akashic Records.